What is up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the big man in Seattle, DK Metcalf, wide receiver, and looking at his fantasy outlook. Coming onto the scene last year as a rookie and really did outproduce where a lot of people expected him to finish. Only 58 receptions, but 900 receiving yards and 7 total touchdowns on the year. Good enough for 11.7 fantasy points per game and 187 fantasy points altogether. Did finish in the offseason with a increase to his production as well. Doesn't necessarily mean as much to try to project playoff production onto the next season, but he did see a steady increase in his production over time. Wasn't ever really a fantasy asset that you could rely on from week to week. Had one game where he finished as a top 6 receiver and 2 other games where he finished as a wide receiver 2. Outside of that, had a couple, around 10-point games where you weren't exactly disappointed if you started him, but he did carry a pretty low floor, putting up a dud against Arizona, a couple games below or at around 5 points. So was a pretty inconsistent year last year, and that was pretty much what we expected heading into the season, knowing that DK Metcalf had a lot of work to do if he wanted to increase his ability to run the full route tree. And we did, again, like I said, we saw more and more usage over time. Didn't really see an increase to his volume, even though Tyler Lockett was dealing with an injury over the back half of the year. So that was a little bit concerning as well. Some of the other stats that we were looking at, he did finish with the 20% target share, which is 38th amongst receivers. Now, I was actually expecting his red zone receptions to be a lot higher. Looked at Tyler Lockett, who finished with 18 red zone receptions. He only had 6. So there could be a bit more of a evening in terms of red zone receptions between Metcalf and Lockett. I don't think Metcalf necessarily has the same rapport with Russell Wilson as Lockett, which is probably why Lockett is so heavily used in the red zone. But I do think that a guy like DK Metcalf that is known as a red zone threat will probably see more than 6 red zone receptions in 2020. Finished with 15.5 yards per reception, which was 16th amongst receivers, and had a very high target quality rating from Russell Wilson, number 11. Only a 58% catch rate, and was able to at least double that with a 47.6% contested catch rate, which is pretty good, but an 8% drop rate. He's going to have to improve on that. Russell Wilson is a pretty efficient quarterback, and we've seen guys like Doug Baldwin and now Tyler Lockett that have produced really well with very strong efficiency. DK Metcalf is a different archetype of what we're typically used to seeing with Russell Wilson. So the second year for DK Metcalf is going to be a very interesting experiment to see how he continues to develop or if he falls into that sophomore slump. And really, with everything that's going on right now, it's going to be really hard for me to take DK Metcalf. I don't know how much rapport he's going to continue to build with Russell Wilson, but I do think he will have plenty more blow-up weeks than he did in 2019. I'm more of a Tyler Lockett guy myself. Where we have him projected right now is definitely an increase in his production, getting 66 receptions, just under 1,000 receiving yards, and 8 total touchdowns. So seeing him used in the red zone a bit more, finishing with 211 fantasy points. But he does carry a lot of upside if he is able to increase that rapport with Russell Wilson, is able to control those drops, and is able to be a bit more efficient with his targets. He could see a pretty massive boost in his value overall. Kind of, again, same thing with Lockett. Goes back to, what do you believe about Russell Wilson? What do you believe about this team? Are they going to be able to convince Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer that they need to pass the ball more, or is this going to continue being a run-first team throughout the entire year? Even though they're facing the 3rd toughest strength of schedule against the run, their offensive line is arguably a bit weaker, and they added additional downfield threats with Philip Dorsett and guys like Greg Olsen to this offense. So this should be a year that we would see the Seahawks throw the ball a lot more, but can you necessarily project that? Not really, and it's a bit frustrating from the fantasy lens because you see what it could be, and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett could both be you could see kind of what we had with like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin last year. That's what DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett could be if this team threw the ball as much as they should. So if you're expecting that to happen and you want to take a gamble on that, then DK Metcalf is great where he's going right now. You can typically get him in the 5th or 6th round. He's going around the same place as Tyler Lockett, and me personally, I'm going to take Tyler Lockett 9 times out of 10 over DK Metcalf. I would just rather have, in this year of uncertainty, I would rather have the guy that has the years of rapport and the massive efficiency that we have with Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett, who are just simpatico on the field, rather than relying on DK Metcalf to take a massive step forward in his ability to earn touches in this offense. But at the same point, DK Metcalf could massively outproduce his ADP, and I definitely see a world where he does that. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Where are you guys at in terms of Tyler Lockett versus DK Metcalf? Again, I'm a Lockett guy, but if we're talking dynasty, I'd rather have Metcalf, so put that aside. But I think Lockett is going to have a solid season. He's in his prime, and he could have a few more good years, but this year especially, absolutely on fire for Tyler Lockett. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.